Sometimes running an Airbnb business really, like, really. Hi everyone, Michael here from STR Wealth Academy, and in today's video, what I'd like to cover is some of the worst things that come along with running an Airbnb and short-term rental business. Now, my wife Katrina and I, we've been in this industry now for over 6 years. We currently control a portfolio of nearly 70 listings, and we have personally earned over $13 million doing this. Now, in that time, we've hosted north of 25,000 reservations since we began our journey just over 6 years ago. So believe me when I say we have seen our fair share of just absolutely batshit crazy things in this industry and in our business. Now, having said that, in this video, I want to give you a balanced perspective because I feel like a lot of the content that you see around Airbnb and short-term rentals tends to skew to the positive side where they only talk about the money that you can make, all the amazing cash flow that can come from this, the freedom, yada, yada, yada. And what's really important is if you are looking to get into this industry, I think it's important to have a balanced perspective of both sides of it so you're not skewed in one direction, just so you have an idea of what really goes into this and things that you can expect and anticipate before you begin or you continue advancing on your journey. So number one worst thing I would say about Airbnb and short-term rentals is unpredictable income. Okay, so unlike long-term rentals where, assuming your tenant pays you on time, of course, every single month at whatever price that you agreed to, there's incredible variability in income in this business, okay? So especially if you're in a market where you have a lot of seasonality, if you're in like a coastal area where you got a lot of people coming in during certain times of the year and then it's just completely dead other times of the year, we can see some wild spikes and swings in terms of monthly income that you can earn in this kind of business. Now, we also experience this ourselves in our own portfolio. One of the markets that we operate in is called Canmore, Alberta. In our business, well, in that business that we run, we do about 70% of our entire year in about a 4-month period. It's an amazing 4-month period, but then the revenues we see in the off season can be pretty humbling to say the least. But that being said, it's not to dissuade you from the opportunity. It's just to be aware that there are going to come with ups and downs in this type of business. So that's something you have to prepare for and make sure that when the times are good, that you're setting some money aside, have some cash reserves there, because when the off season or the shoulder season comes in your market, you don't want to be caught with your pants down, so to speak. Okay. Now, the second reason of what the worst thing about short-term rental and Airbnbs are is that you have constant guest turnover. Unlike, again, with long-term rentals where you might only have to find one client every year or potentially every couple of years, depending on how long of a lease you may have signed. Sometimes in our business, we have to find multiple guests per week at the same property, right? So every time someone comes in and then every time somebody leaves, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen in a very short time window in order to get the property ready, get it prepared, and get it clean and organized for the next guest that might be coming in that very same day, right? So this is where it's particularly important, especially if you're going to be growing a portfolio and having multiple units, is you got to have a team, you got to have systems, and you got to have processes in place so you're not the one that has to do all of this work. Because trust me, if you've ever done any cleaning yourself in this industry, people can be kind of gross, I'm not going to lie. So that being said, this is something that's not to, again, make you turn away, but it's just something to be aware of, that you may have to have constant people you will have constant people in and out of the property because you're going to have cleaners going through, maintenance people going through, and which is good in a way because the property will stay in much better condition over the long term because you have so many sets of eyes on it. But it's just something you need to be aware of, that unlike long-term rentals where you only have to find 1, maybe 2 people every other year, sometimes you have to find multiple people per week. So this is why it's important that you have those systems and team in place so that you're able to be prepared for that, okay? The third thing I would say is the worst thing about Airbnb and short-term rentals is that you have a lot of issues and complaints from guests from time to time. Now, the reality is, let's be honest, even if the place is absolutely perfect, it's immaculately clean, everything is pristinely maintained, there's the property's in mint condition, you're going to have guests that are just simply not going to be happy. And there's sometimes people in the world where no matter what you do or what you say or actions you take in order to rectify whatever concern they've brought to your attention, they're just simply not going to be happy. They're just unhappy people in the world. And unfortunately, they like to take it out on customer service industry providers like ourselves. And so that's just something you're going to have to be dealing with, right? This is a hospitality-based business, okay? Which means you're going to be dealing with people all the time. And part of it is usually when issues come up, it's at the most inconvenient times when you have something else going on, you have other plans happening, and you may have to drop everything and deal with it right then and there, depending on what's going on. There's been several times where Katrina and myself, we've had to quickly leave family dinners and run to a property to go deal with something. We've had to, check out of family events early in order to handle whatever is coming up at that given time. So again, now we have a bit more of a team in place. So we're not, if something comes up to us at this point, there's a lot of things that went wrong between the event and it getting to our attention. But that being said, again, when you're just getting started, you just have to be prepared for the fact that sometimes your phone is going to ring at very inopportune times and you are going to have unhappy people that you need to be able to deal with and be able to rectify their concerns. Okay. The fourth reason of what the worst things about Airbnb and short-term rentals is depending on where you're looking to do this business, you can run into some strict local regulation and compliance measures that you have to maintain in order to be able to operate your business, okay? There's some cities and some locations where you have very strict permitting requirements, licensing requirements in order to operate, or there's some cases where it might be okay this year, but then regulations can completely change at the turn of a dime, and that could potentially impact your business model in this industry. We unfortunately have been on the wrong side of this a couple of times in our business where we got into an area where there was actually no regulations in place at all. So we just immediately thought, well, this is perfect. We can operate any way we please. This is exactly a very unique situation. But what ended up happening was because there were no regulations in place, all it took was a small handful of complaints from some of the neighboring properties, and then they just dropped the hammer on us. And we were out of business literally the next day overnight in that one particular market that we were operating in. So again, this is something, like any business, it does come with a risk. It does come with challenges, but you just need to be aware of this going into it and make sure you do your research in advance. So if you are looking to get into an area to run this type of business, you want to try to find markets that have had their regulations passed and have been stable for a long period of time, because it is something to be aware of. It can happen, but you got to be prepared for it, especially if you are buying a property in an area to do this. The fifth worst thing rather about short-term rentals and Airbnbs is you are going to have higher operating costs to do this business, okay? So when you are running this business, especially if you're doing rental arbitrage or if you own the property, you're going to be on the hook for higher utility bills, higher maintenance bills, higher upkeep. You're going to have to be replacing furniture and decor more often than you think in order to keep the place fresh and vitalized. And that's just something you have to be prepared for, okay? So with a long-term rental, you don't really have to worry about that as much. Now, obviously, you want to try to find a good tenant that's going to take care of your property and keep it in reasonably good condition over the time of that lease. But the thing is, with short-term rentals, because you have people coming in and out all the time, you're going to have wear and tear on the property, right? You're going to have to replace things. You're going to have higher operating costs with just running the house with that type of business plan, okay? That being said, although the cost might be a bit higher, because you're selling time at the property in smaller increments, some cases a day, several days, sometimes a week or more, because you're chopping the time up more, so to speak, so more people can come through, that's how you're actually able to earn, of course, much higher income versus you selling time by the month if you're doing long-term rentals. So again, although you will have higher costs, it also gives you the potential to earn much higher rates of income. But again, it's something you have to be aware of and be prepared for. The sixth worst thing about short-term rentals and Airbnb is you absolutely have more liability and risk with this type of business, okay? in comparison to long-term rentals as an example. So again, with the amount of people coming through and going in and out of the property, you just simply have higher chances that there could be issues, damages, accidents. If it's during the wintertime, people fall and slip on the sidewalk. If a railing breaks off a wall and someone falls down, there's just stuff that can happen in this business, right? So it's really, really important that you have the right type of corporate structure set up so that your personal assets are protected from whatever happens within the business. It's also really important that you have the right type of insurance as well that protects against liability or just unfortunate events that can happen in this type of business. Okay, so just know going into that could be something that occurs. So you just don't want to go into this business with no protection, because if someone files suit against you, you don't want to be in a situation that can they can come after you personally and take away all the hard work that rewards that can come along with this business if you're not properly protected. So just be aware of that. Okay. The seventh most frustrating and worst thing about running an Airbnb and a short-term rental, it is more time consuming. So the time consuming management aspect of it is something you need to be aware of. Okay. Unlike a long-term rental where you simply just plunk a tenant in there and you can kind of go to sleep, so to speak, this is an active business. Okay. There's a lot of people out there that claim that this is passive income and you don't have to work that hard and you kind of set it and forget it with some systems and technology. And while there is elements of the business that can absolutely be automated, you can have different technology or people for you to delegate tasks to take care of some of the day-to-day aspects of running the business. This is not passive income, okay? It is absolutely an active business that can be made to be more passive over time, but especially when you're first getting going, it is going to take more of your time. It just 100% is. Until you have enough properties where you can start having budget to hiring out some of the different roles and positions of things that need to get done in the day-to-day. Like when Katrina and I first started, we didn't even get our first virtual assistant, I think, until almost our 20th property. So we were doing all of our own guest messaging. We were taking all of the phone calls, and it became a lot to manage, okay? Thank God we figured this out, and we started getting some key people in place to really take care of the day-to-day for us. But just know going into this that it is not a passive income vehicle, and it should never really be viewed that way, because ultimately, anything with passive income, someone likes this. I've heard this expression a while ago where someone said passive income is almost like it can just pass you by, right? There's no such thing as truly passive income, because anything is always going to require some level of management and attention that goes towards it. And so just don't go into this opportunity with the expectation that you're going to set a property up, you're not going to have to ever think about it ever again, and everything's just going to flow perfectly and smoothly, and it's going to just be wonderful all the time. It's really not the case. We have taken a lot of steps, and we talk about a lot of things on the channel of things you can do to make it more passive and easier to operate, especially at scale. But just don't have the mentality that short-term rentals are passive income. It's just absolutely not. Okay. Speaking from experience. Now, the final and worst thing about Airbnbs and short-term rentals is the constant pressure to maintain high ratings. Now, in this business, you live and die on reviews. Okay. If you have a consistent track record of displeasing your customers, mismanaging your guests, not taking care of your property, not giving value to the people that are going to be booking your property, you're not going to be in business very long. And in fact, Airbnb has taken measures to ensure that this is the case, because they now have a new system where if you consistently have 3-star ratings or below over a very short period of time, I believe you have to have 5 infractions over a 6-month period. If that happens, they're going to automatically start suspending your listings. And if it continues to happen, they'll actually suspend your listing altogether without the opportunity for you to be able to continue managing that property. So where the industry has come to, it's absolutely got to the point where you have to know what you're doing before going into this. You have to have processes around cleaning. You have to have processes around maintenance. and you have to have processes around how you manage your reputation with your reviews if you're going to be around in this industry over the long term. Okay, so just know that you have to really place a high focus on customer service, on providing a hospitality experience, and going above and beyond for your guests. Because again, if you do not do everything you can to try to earn 5-star reviews on a consistent basis, you're just simply not going to succeed in this industry over the long run, and you're not going to be able to have the staying power that really makes this business work. While this is not an all-encompassing list, if you gave me a few glasses of wine, I'm sure I could add several more points on here. But the point is, I wanted to make this video just to give you a balanced perspective of all the different things you need to be aware of if you are going to get into this business, if you are looking to set up a short-term rental company, and you want to find a way to be able to replace your income. On this channel, we talk about all things short-term rentals, Airbnb, how to replace your 9-to-5 income, how to replace a working income, and how to have time, location, and financial freedom. All right, guys, so if you like this material and you want to stay in touch and learn more about how you can build a thriving and successful short-term rental business, we actually have a free community that you can join where we have a free course available on how to build a thriving and successful short-term rental business. Just check out the link in the description. It's 100% free. There's no cost to it. There's a lot of very informative material in there that will set you on the right track to be able to find your path to success with short-term rentals in 2024 and soon to be 2025. So again, thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.